Hey guys, my name is Nick and I'm super excited today because we're going to be talking about something that I've been looking forward to for a really long time. And that is a set of over-fenders for the GT86 that maintain pretty much all of the factory body lines of the car. Up until this point, there have been a lot of kits made for this car, but not one quite like this one. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's take a closer look. Alright, so the first thing you guys are going to notice here on the screen is that the kit is made by Origin Lab and that it is $675. So $675, that's going to be a set of two. So right here, this is the listing for just the front fenders, and then the rear fenders are also going to be around $675. It's good that they split them up because maybe some people are only going to want to run the fronts, maybe some people are only going to need the rears, so you'll be able to do that if you need to. When you first look at this kit, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, where's the kit? This thing looks stock, and that is just the point. So as we saw, they are only 25 millimeters wider than factory. And the front fender, it's going to be a front fender replacement, so you're going to replace your entire front fender, and then it's going to be a kind of a skin overlay that you're going to put over your rear quarter panel back there. And the philosophy of a kit like this is just basically if you want to be able to add a little bit wider wheels, a little bit wider tires on your car, or if you have some damage from drifting, you can cover up some damage with these fenders, maybe replace the front fenders or cover up damage in the rear quarter panel with that rear skin. All doing so while maintaining the stock body lines of the car. And this styling is kind of for people who appreciate the kind of look of 90s, early 2000s drift cars where they didn't necessarily have these crazy wide Rocketbunny looking kits, but whenever there was some damage or they needed some more room, they'd go with a kit like Origin or BN and put kind of a skin on the car that covered up any damage, something like that. So yeah, that's why I really like this kit, and I think it's going to be super popular in the drift community. Let's take a closer look at the kit now. And starting with the front fenders, let me back it up here real quick to the first picture. Yeah, so as we mentioned, it's basically just a full front replacement for the fender. And the first thing we notice is right here where the fender garnish is. So it looks like if you're going to want to put the factory fender garnish there, you're probably going to have to drill some holes and make some mounts for yourself because it doesn't look like it comes pre-drilled for anything. But honestly, it looks pretty cool without it. I like that kind of styling right there, especially when it's all body color. I think that looks super clean. I think they've done a really good job of kind of tapering this extra bit of width that they put here down all the way through the end of the fender so it still fits flush really well right there. And do expect some trimming if you get these fenders. These fenders, they're probably not going to fit 100% correctly because it is fiberglass, and that's just normal. They can't spend the time to make every single mold absolutely perfect because then these fenders would cost way more than they do. So yeah, just expect that. Okay, let's take a look at the next picture. So in this picture, you can kind of see that it makes it look a little bit more aggressive than factory. Looks nice. Here's that picture we started with. Here's kind of the rear. That's a good transition, so we can talk about the rear fenders. But here's a side profile of the car. Looks pretty awesome. All right, so the rear fenders. Let's start with the rear fenders now. So this, as you can see here, you can't exactly take your rear quarter panel off unless you want to cut it all off. This is going to be like a skin that you replace or that you put over your rear quarter panel, and that's what that is right here. Okay, here's a really good angle first to kind of see everything. So if we zoom in, you can see how they've mounted it with little either metal screws or rivets or something like that. That's cool. If you have a drift car, you're probably going to need to take it off every once in a while. But if you don't have a drift car and you just want to use this for a little bit of extra width, I think it'll be cool if you shave a little bit of the edge off right here and actually mold it onto the car. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, so starting from the bottom all the way down here, you can see how the kit tapers really nicely along the body line. So it looks like you'll still be able to fit any like TRD skirt or whatever kind of skirts you want on here, and it should still be able to fit and actually cover up this line really nicely so it fades really in. Might need to do some trimming right there. It looks like this sticks out a little bit further than stock, but I'm sure it's fine. So going up, you can see how this line hugs the rear window, and I think that looks super clean. Kind of makes the kit disappear into the car. I was surprised at how far up this piece goes up the rear pillar right here, but I think that's because of the way the car is shaped, and if you have some damage right here, you still need to be able to mount the kit up here. But let's say you don't want this piece right here, I'm sure you could chop it off, make your own line, and that's the great thing about these fiberglass parts. You can kind of fix them to how you want them to look. Gas cap doesn't look like you're going to need any kind of extra piece on there like you would on a Rocketbunny or other wide body kit. It looks like it fits flush enough to where you'll be able to access your gas cap just fine. Okay, here's where we can kind of see another thing. So as I was saying earlier, you can see that you may need to do some little bit of editing on these fenders when you first get them because they may not fit just right, but that's super normal and expected when you buy fiberglass parts. But overall, it fits really nicely. It looks like it hugs the car really well around the tail light. The only thing I noticed kind of differently that also surprised me was this kind of nub they left on the rear fender, and you should be able to see that. Yeah, so if we zoom in, you can kind of see this raised part. They didn't make it flush all the way down like they did with this right here, because also that's partially because this is where the rear bumper mounts, and yeah, so they kind of had to cut that off a little bit abruptly right there, which is, it doesn't look bad at all. I think it looks cool, and maybe that is a sign that they might make a rear bumper that kind of hugs up to this line. One can only hope, but no, I don't know. Looks cool. Overall, kit looks super cool. And I think even though it's only 25 millimeters, it's going to make the car look a little bit more aggressive, even at that width. So yeah, I really like the kit. Okay, so while you guys are still here, I thought it'd be fun to kind of continue the conversation by showing you an older set of fenders that Origin actually came out for our car. This new set is actually not the first set that they've come out for our car. They actually came out with these right here. It looks like somebody mounted them up on their FRS. And I think this was actually a for sale post. But yeah, if you zoom in, I mean, they're a little bit funky, not gonna lie. But I think when this car first came out, there was a pretty big push by the manufacturers because they were still trying to figure out like what direction are people going to take this car, what aesthetic should we go for, and I think there was a huge push towards trying to figure out who can make the craziest looking kit as possible. Everyone wants super wide as possible kits, have their cars slammed, and that was true for a while, honestly. That was, if you think of FRSs when they first came out, everyone just wanted to slam them and make them super wide, and that was cool. That was a whole era. But I think companies are starting to realize that although it's a pretty niche market, and it's always going to be a niche market, there's a growing market of people who are really interested in the early 2000s drift cars. I'm sure you can see that all over TikTok. But yeah, so basically, I think there's a push, and this kit is evident of companies realizing that more people are wanting to drift their cars. They're getting to that age where people are starting to drift them, and yeah, and that's also evident. I mean, we didn't have fenders like this for years, or really a kit that was pretty like drift oriented for years. We kind of had to make it ourselves here in the States, and that's really evident we can see with the Futago line kit. Like David Bob, he created that kit because he really wanted the specific style that just wasn't being offered by these companies. And David's awesome. He's a really nice guy. So if you guys ever want to support him, I know that kit is always on back order because so many people want it, and that's also evident to people wanting that style. So yeah, shout out to David. He's cool. Once again, Origin, this kit is awesome. You guys did such a great job on it, and I hope I never have to run it because that means I destroyed my rear quarter panel. But if I do, I'm happy to know that it's out there for us if we need it. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to keep following me on Instagram, whatever, if you want to subscribe, that's cool. Everything will be down below. I'm going to keep putting ZN6 content on this page. So yeah, thanks.